What's up everybody, this is Quet, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Git. We're going to talk about what Git is, why you should be using it. We're going to talk about a few commands that you can run in the command line when interacting with Git. And I'm going to show you how to put code up from your local machine to GitHub or any other Git repository so that other developers can see and interact with your code and perhaps even work and improve your code or add a feature. So what is Git? Git is a version control system for tracking changes in computer files and coordinating work on those files amongst multiple people. Um, Basically what that means is that it's a system that'll keep snapshots of your code that you can go back to if there's some bug or mistake, and it's a way for other people to be able to work and collaborate with you without having even when you're not like involved directly at the time. So if you've ever used like Google Sheets or Google Docs or something like that, where you can, you can write up a document and you'll be typing and somebody else can type as well, or work on a different part of the document. It's kind of like that. It's very similar. That's how I like to explain it to people that are like, "What is Git? I've never heard of Git." That maybe aren't developers or kind of new, right? Um, so if you've ever worked with coding and you're new to it and you start coding, I know me personally, when I started coding, I would write my code, I would save it, it would be on the computer. If I ever need to share it with somebody, I'd then have to like put it in a zip file and email it over to them, or I take screenshots, and it's not necessarily the most efficient way. If I see you a screenshot, it might be, especially if it's spaghetti code, it's just kind of hard to read and follow. You can't really touch it and make updates to fix things. So you're like retyping it, or the other person like retyping it and trying to like make head and tails of it. But if you have it, if you use Git and send it up to GitHub and drop them a link, so much easier for them to work with. They can just kind of pull that down, look at your code, see what's going on, make changes, whatever the case is. So yeah, I'm gonna show you a few commands to get it up and running, and just um the the main, I guess, the main things you need for Git to run, to have a good time with Git, I should say. So over here I have an illustration. I'm not the greatest artist, just so you know. I code fire, I don't draw it. But in this photo I have Rick and Morty. Um, if you haven't heard of Rick and Morty, I'll give you a quick rundown. Basically, it's a cartoon. It's about the scientist named Rick. He's super smart, but he has a lot of problems in his life. He travels to other galaxies and universes and does crazy things. He likes to drag his grandson Morty along with him. Morty does whatever Rick tells him to do. There's a whole storyline about there being like thousands of other Rick and Morty. So Rick is always in charge and doing something crazy, and Morty is basically a slave when you think about it. It's not. I mean, in some cases, he's more so a slave, and not. There's no love, but anyway, the point is they go on crazy adventures together. Rick is the ringleader, and Morty just kind of follows him. And for that reason, I've written Morty as a text file because he just takes commands and holds them. And Rick is logical. He's very smart. He's a very smart guy, so I made him a JavaScript file. So, in this picture, I'm illustrating how we have Rick and Morty here. Let's say that they're on some planet where they're being models. So Rick and Morty are going to go, and they're in the makeup room right now, getting hair, makeup, wardrobe, all that done up here at this stage. At this stage here, they're actually going to an actual stage. They're going to a staging area. They're sitting there. They're posing. They're getting prepared. The lights on them. They're sitting there ready to go. This third stage is where they're getting a actual picture of them taken. Snapshots are being taken. Pictures are happening. And then this stage is where those pictures are being published. So you can see them in an art gallery or a magazine or something like that. Just think of it that way. That's kind of the main steps to Git. I mean, Git gets really Git. Git is really complex. There's a lot to it, but to get started, these are the main things you need to worry about to get started with Git. So let's actually get started. So I have a repository here called Git Intro. Um, Let me see. It has my code here for modi.txt and vic.js. So if you look here on my illustration, we have both of those files, and it's my updated code. We're inside of my directory. The code is updated with let's see, I do whatever Vic tells me to do, and this one is logging out Morty, let's fly to another galaxy and do something crazy. So that's the code that I wrote, right? So I have my updated code, and now the first thing we need to do here is initialize the Git repository. Run that command, and all Git commands, you start with the word Git, the keyword Git, and then whatever command you need to happen. So this is git init. This initializes the Git repository. This basically installs Git inside the repository and tells Git to pay attention to things that happen inside of this directory. From there, we don't have to do this, but it's a very good tip. Git status. What Git status does is it tells you what's going on with your files. Have changes been made? Have those changes been saved in any kind of way? Have those just kind of what's going on with your repository here. And a repository is just kind of another way to say directory. Just I would use it interchangeably. It's directory, repository, same thing. So if you hear it, just think of a directory. If it's a GitHub or GitLab or some remote directory, it's just a remote repository. It's a remote directory. I mean, there you go. And yeah. So now we have these changes. We can see that we have modi.txt and vic.js. They're untracked files. Git doesn't really know about it. Git's looking like, I have these files, but you haven't told me anything to do with them. I'm just kind of not paying them too much attention right now. So in order to get Vic and Morty from being worked on, hair and makeup to the stage, we need to use the command git add. This is going to add your code to the staging area. There's a couple different things you can write after this. We can write a dot, which means grab everything that's inside of this repository, similar to the command that you would use if you needed the that we went over in the terminal video that I did earlier in command line interface commands. This is just saying, hey, look within this repository, grab everything. Then we have -a, which is just saying grab all. This is a flag that says, hey, everything that's in here, go ahead and add it. Or you could just write individual files names. So you can do modi.txt and vic.js. Since this is the last one I wrote out, I'm just going to click enter on this. And if we do a git status, we can see that these files are considered new files inside of Git. Git knows about them. Git is paying attention to them. And they need to be committed. Now Git is saying, hey, I know about it. They're on stage. They're ready to go. Kind of think of it like a movie. They come and they have the little thing to like in action. This is kind of what this is getting ready to do here. So like I said earlier, Git status isn't necessary, but it's a really great tool to make sure that you're doing the right thing, that things have been done, and just paying attention to what's going on with your directory. And now that we have Rick and Morty in the staging area, now it's time to commit. So git commit is the next command I want to go over. So git commit, after you write it, it takes a flag of -m. This says that you're going to have a message, a short summary of what's going on inside of quotes, and it's going to take that message and it's going to add it to your commit. And this is a good way to see exactly what was the last thing you did with your code. It is required anytime you do a commit, and it becomes really beneficial once you start doing more and more commits and adding more work to your project. You can easily go back and be like, oh, I made a mistake here. This is like a really crucial bug, or I deleted something that I really needed. You can go back and look at your old commits and see, oh, this is when I made this change because I see this message. So yeah, what you do next is you have your quote, and you just write whatever message like, oh, I updated this function, I added this feature, I deleted this, this part of the code, whatever it is. So conventionally, most people when they first start writing a new repo, they kind of set things up and then they write initial, um, yeah, initial something, initial code, right? And then once they do that, they have the git commit dash m initial code. We're good to go. And you can see that 2 files changed. There was insertions. It's created a lot of information that doesn't really matter much as long as it works. You're good to go. So when you do a git commit, you can commit as many times as you want. You can take multiple snapshots. You can update this code and say it looks like we should go get ready. We can save that, and I'm going to get status real quick. We can see that, hey, this Rick file has been modified. The Morty file, nothing's happened. It knows Rick has been modified. Something is different about it. So we do our git add. Then we do our git commit. We have a message. Updated Rick file. We can see that it's been updated. And so you can do as many commits as you want. And now it's time to get to the part where we actually push it to a remote repository. So the reason for having a remote repository, it backs up all of your code for one. That's great. Like any code that you wrote, it's backed up. If you need to go work on another computer, you can. Like if your computer crashes, you can go and work on it. If you need to send your code off to somebody else, you just say, here's a link, check it out. So it's great. So in order to do that, you need to use a website like GitHub. So you should sign up for a GitHub account if you haven't already. Once you signed up, you should be at a screen like this. You can add a new repository by clicking a button here. If you're also on your profile, there should be an option to add a repository. So you give it a name. I'm going to call this one Git Intro. You'll normally write a description to go with it. Why not? Intro to Git. Repository is always public on GitHub unless you have a paid or student account. You normally want your repository to be public anyway. We can initialize it with the README. We're not going to do that today. And we're going to create a repository. Once your repository is created, these are the steps to get it set up so that you can connect your local repository or repo with your remote repo. So since we didn't start with the README, or we're not going to necessarily, we already have files created. I would say this one is for if you don't have any files at all. You just created an empty repo. You need a file. You init, you add something, you commit, and then you push. We already did these steps. We already have files. So what we need to worry about is this one. So I'm going to copy these one at a time. They have clipboards. It'll add this to your clipboard and you can just do it all at once. But I'm going to do it one at a time here and explain. So this command git remote add origin in this URL. I'm going to go over this briefly. It's not super advanced, but I'm not going to touch on it too much in this video.